very, very, or I guess the Sven will jump into that category as well. But you know, the Batrider, the Conquer, as well as the Nature's Prophet, the flexibility is one of their massive strengths as well, right? Like the fact that they are a very, very strong hero in their own right, and then on top of that, they're flexible in 3 to 5 roles, which I think is the reason why a lot of these heroes are so successful, especially in this closed qualifier environment, where if you get some of these heroes and you're able to, you know, mostly outdraft some of these other teams, then that skill gap goes from being relatively close to being blown out of the water.
I know you're talking about all these Dota things, but all I'm looking at is the player cams right now, and I don't know if it's just the shadows or something, but Young G, he has to have the fastest facial hair growth of all time, because I'm pretty sure he was completely clean shaven yesterday. His hand is covering it right now, but he's like got pretty much a full mustache in and, you know, a pretty decent beard right now, so we'll have to wait and see.
I don't trust my memory from last night with the amount of sleep that I've had. So I'm not going to trust my brain. So I'm just going to go with you and say, yeah, Young G is a genetic mutant and is able to grow facial hair overnight. So shout out to Young G.
Shout out to the razor industry as well, which is single-handedly keeping afloat. We did see Tusk hero. I mean, like, this is something that eSpoiled picked up twice and in their 2 losses, but it is still a relatively good hero, right? Like, it was there up on the most picked heroes at the very last of the front page, but I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it can feel nice when you've got heroes like the Darkseer to be able to play with in the position 4 role. It's not really played as a 5 as much anymore, but I do see the value of it in this meta. You know, we keep talking about a lot of these ranged, POS 1 heroes, that it just makes a lot of sense to be able to pair the Tusk together with it, you know? Obviously having a saving support, always good. Having increased Roshan potential, always good. Having stronger lane presence, always good. But now you've got an Undying to potentially contend with if you're playing it as a position 4, and not really the sort of brawling style that you want as a Tusk when you're going up against the Undying.
Does make it a little bit more difficult for you to get in there and throw some icy hands, so that's a little change up here from eSpoiled. Speaking of the Tusk, I feel like Tusk is I don't want to say the perfect Dota hero, but he is by and far my favorite Dota hero, and I feel like his design is chef's kiss. I feel like he's such a mechanically high skill hero, can combine with a lot of cool things. There's a lot of cool skill expression, and his voice acting is top notch. So Tusk is.
I love the voice acting. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Anytime it's picked, I'm just pumped. I'm just pumped to watch it, especially because if you get a lot of these super high tier players, I feel like just being a good player and having the baseline of Tusk, and then seeing those Tusk specialists do those Tusk things, is very, very special to watch. And I think that's one of those heroes that can really get a lot of that skill expression going. So pumped to see some more Tusk.
As Waste has got the camera angled at his waist right now. It's really showing a lot to the old viewers. Yeah, I do love seeing a Tusk, you know, with the snowball plays, with the ice shards, being able to, you know, cliff yourself, cliff enemies, be able to get away. Potential for scaling into the later stages of the game once you get that walrus kick available. It does feel really nice. What accent would you say Tusk has? Is it like Swedish? A little bit?
Definitely would be Nordic. Let me see what the Dota 2 wiki says about Tusk.
Well, I don't think we're on Earth in the Dota universe.
Yeah, but they may give him a region, like an earthly region.
Maybe. I doubt it though. We're going to see Shadow Shaman coming through for eSpoiled. I think this is another one of the heroes that they've been picking up a fair amount. So the only. I actually don't think they have, but I think we're seeing a few heroes be played with a Shadow Shaman. They like to go the mass Serpent Ward, like the one big one, a certain few teams, and I think eSpoiled is one of them, just trying to get a little bit more of that pushing potential in with one giant ward to have to deal with. So it'd be an interesting way to go about it. I mean, Chicken Fingers is such a good facet to be able to have, just for being able to trade effectively, interrupt TPs even when your spells are off cooldown, good against illusion heroes to be able to break those. So I'm interested to see how they're going to choose their facets for this one.
I feel like chicken fingers is almost always just going to be the better option. I understand the power of the mass serpent ward, but yeah, I really do feel like chicken fingers is the way to go. So Tusk's name is Ymir, which comes from Norse mythology, so Nordic.
Norway. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hate
That's my
Jakiro here.
guess.
I wouldn't hate a Jakiro for monodrama. Again, it feels like another one of those heroes that you can be quite aggressive with, especially with a Tusk, you know. Shards, Snowball, Punch, plus Macropire, Dual Breath. That's a lot of damage. It might be slow-ish, but even just the double attack of being able to deal with the Tombstone a little bit, give you some extra pushing power, Ice Path to be able to stop Shackles. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I feel like the double attack obviously working really, really well with the tag team.
Of course.
The Ancient Apparition is still floating around, and that has been something that has been used and abused for the past.
Full Ice Draft?
Close. Ooh, what's the next one? Drow? Oh, okay. Death Prophet.
She's more green than blue, right? Or is she wearing a blue? I'm red-green colorblind, so you can excuse me for this. What color is
green.
this?
She's very green.
She is, but what's she wearing?
Pink.
Oh.
Pinky red?
I would have never said that.
Yeah. It's kind of like I was going to say, it's kind of like a watermelon color. But then I realized that you're...
The outside or the inside?
The inside.
Okay.
It's like the inside of a watermelon.
No, that's not watermelon color. Surely not.
She looks very watermelon-y. Maybe it's a little bit more...
Maybe it's a Tidehunter foreshadowing. You never know.
Yeah, true. The real watermelon. But they've moved away from that kind of draft. I do like the fact that they picked up the Ancient Apparition themselves and were able to move into that Death Prophet, whereas now you're looking at some of these heroes like Dirge really doesn't deal that well with the Death Prophet just because you have no way of bursting her. You've got a little bit of lockdown from the Shadow Shaman, but if you get off the Soul Siphon, it is just very, very easy for you to be able to kind of deal with all that damage that comes in from the Shackle.
Yeah, you mentioned the burst potential, and that's got me leaning towards, well, are they just going to lean her now? We've seen how Erased was able to take over a game playing that one, but you always have to worry with the Tusk, and Tusk isn't really going to want to lane into the Undying anyway, so I feel like if you go something like Alina, which is very gankable, then you're going to, you know, put yourself in a difficult sort of position. So it would need to be up to him to like play to the correct side of the lane so that if you are getting rotated on, you've got that little bit of extra time to react and so on and so forth. But all right, they're gonna go for Axe. I wouldn't hate something like Kunkka's already banned out, but I keep saying Razor, and it's not really meta right now, but when you consider like Death Prophet as a hero that just wants to run at you and be right next to you in the middle of team fights, Razor's not horrible to have to play around with, especially when you've got a bunch of slows that are going to be coming through from Battle Hunger and Tombstone and all these sorts of things. It just has some decent synergy, but maybe it's still a little bit too early to be picking it up.
Yeah, potentially could just be a bit rough for him to try and play into Ice Vortex, the Cold Feet, the Shards, the Snowball, etc., etc. So wanting to lean towards a little bit more of that burst damage with the Tiny here. So this potentially could be a Snowy hero.
Toughback is nice too, as well, for when you're playing as the Tiny against the Death Prophet.
No, he played Sven and TA yesterday.
Yeah. I think they played a bunch of other qualification matches after this as well, which they won all of them, I believe. So
okay,
they're doing all right for themselves as well. We see another one of those big beefy boys. I mean, when you think of this, AA plus Sven, there's a lot of kill potential there off the back of the Cold Feet, plus the slows, plus the stun, of course. Tusk rotating through. You almost wonder, like we've seen Axe be gotten off to a good start off the back of like early rotations through, getting him into the first blood, but Tusk is the hero that you want to be playing if you're trying to get first blood, right? Like tag team plus Cold Feet plus whatever else you might want to have, and that's just an easy injection of gold for your team. So I have to see if that's the avenue that they choose to go for.
I really would enjoy if Nemiga wanted to put that emphasis on the Axe, just kind of shut him down in that first wave, right? Just means that you get that first blood if you get it onto the Sven. Means that the Axe can't set up in these lane shenanigans like he wants to. It really puts him off to a bad start, who feels like he's kind of going to be a lot of the, I don't want to say end all and be all for the side of eSpoiled, but really do rely on their Axe kind of setting the tempo for them. Their Shadow Shaman and their Dirge really don't start fights for them. They're much more of like that second phase interaction. You know, you drop a tombstone down and you try and get to that fight happening around the Shadow Shaman wards. So we'll see what Nemiga wants to try and get rid of now. Do they just get rid of Puck and just say good luck trying to find a team fighter now that Void Spirit and Ember are gone as well?
Yeah, I could see that. I'm also just looking at, like, I guess the Tiny is one of the few good heroes at it, but like, do they want to just pick up these heroes that are capable of withstanding the Sven burst? Because we've seen people get one hit against the Sven if he gets off to a pretty good start. And I guess Axe and Tiny, they're pretty tanky in their own right to be able to withstand it, but is Puck that hero, or you're just relying on your own individual skill as well? There's another beefy boy that you're going to have to try and deal with. So they've got a lot of pushing potential on Nemiga. They've got a lot of HP that you're going to need to get through. How are you going to be able to deal with this? I mean, against the AA, though, that's the thing that really throws a spanner into it, because I was thinking, can you Necro into this? Against every other hero, it's great, but not against the AA unless you're really going to be relying on the Tiny to be the one, you know, bursting down that AA before the team fights are a concern.
Yeah, that's I feel like the beauty of what we've seen from Nemiga's draft here. I feel like the AA really does solve a lot of their problems. I feel like AA solves a lot of problems full stop in Dota. Kind of creates his own as well, just with how strong he has been. So it's going to be hard for eSpoiled. They're going to go for the Mortar. So another one of those heroes that can have a lot of that late game damage potential. Really be able to start to scale with that hero, especially when you go into Pierce the Veil. You can get through the Dragon Knight. Maybe have enough burst damage to get through the Sven as well. But again, it's just another one of those heroes is if you get caught, you are just not going to have a good time. Like, you're going to get 2 hit by this Sven. The Dragon Knight's going to be able to catch you out with, you know, Blink Dragon Tail. It's all about the lanes, I feel like, for eSpoiled, right? Like, if they get put behind too far in the first 10-15 minutes, they're going to lose all their outer towers, and then at that point, how are they supposed to try and fight around all these different areas for them to get into? Really going to rely on Waste 21, having a good start, getting in towards an early Blink Dagger, having that Blade Mail as well. Nemiga, I feel like they've got a very straightforward draft. It's, you know, very meat and potatoes, whereas for eSpoiled, they've kind of got a lot of things that they need to go right for them in this first game.
Press your buttons and run at them, basically, is what Nemiga need to do, right? And, you know, it does require a little bit more coordination, like you were saying. The big areas that I'm going to be looking towards are the top tier 1 tower, how much emphasis eSpoiled look to put onto it, because, again, that first Tormentor just gives so much value this game, you know, whether it be on the AA, whether it be on the... another hero that I'm seeing coming through, the Undying, you know, just to be able to have that grab ally shard is going to be massive if you're looking to try and stop people from getting burst down by a Sven jumping in with a God Strength Blink Dagger, you know? So are they going to be able to have that defensive tool to be able to stop the inevitable run-at-you style that Nemiga are going to have? And I think for Nemiga's perspective, they don't even need to, like, finish this game in 30 or so minutes. They've got the potential to, of course, but you look at a Sven, you look at a Dragon Knight, they have great late-game potential as well. So it really doesn't seem like there's a big weakness in terms of their timings throughout this entire game.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that Nemiga have going for them.
Hold on.
All right, speaking of fast starts, eSpoiled walked up to the high ground. They got themselves a nice little ward down. Is there a...
Should have
They at least see the ward up here on the high ground, and they will lose their own.
All right, easy. I mean, you always want to fight when you've got a Tusk, for sure. Like, one of the best fighters, especially in like a 5-on-5 situation. But you're going up against an Undying, you know, and if he's able to get off a good tombstone, then it makes it a little bit more challenging. Was that a second smoke that they've now used?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
All right.
They want to see if they can try and get something out of this early aggression. I really feel like Tusk AA plus Sven is basically a kill area.
Sven's not there, though.
Maybe they're trying to make this combo with the Dragon Knight as well as the Death Prophet, hoping that Purple Paradise walks forward, but he will say no thank you, and he will walk away from the Bounty Rune. So they'll end up with 3 here for the side of Nemiga, and starting out nice and hot.
Okay. I mean, you did have to use 2 smokes for it, though. But I guess if you're not really worried about smoking, you can just let them restock and, again, just use your ultimates to be able to push towers. You don't really need to go for these, like, ganks. So, I think it should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does feel like they've just got kind of someone in a lane and they can just sit the 2 supports behind them, depending on what type of objective they want to try and work towards. And it's almost like eSpoiled kind of has to come to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen as well DKs go different sort of strategies. You know, you can look for being that late game presence by, you know, even playing from the mid lane, like an armlet into a bunch of other items for the DK, or you can just go like an early-ish like Mage Slayer into a Blink Dagger if you feel like that's the problem that you need to be solving, and you're like, well, the Sven can kind of deal with a lot of our damage issues that we've got for the mid to late game.
And that's the thing, it's something that we've seen these Svens really have in spades, and that is damage. So I feel like for them, yeah, definitely Young G being able to move towards something along the lines of a lot more of an aggressive stance can put them in good stead here. It was for the side of eSpoiled, starting off pretty decently here.
This top lane is just so crazy. Like, you've got one lane being pulled behind the tower, you've got one lane being pulled on the left, you've got Tusk pulling the lane to the bottom side. So there's like 3 different areas where there's skirmishing happening, and everyone's kind of happy about it. I would say probably the least happy one would be Asdakor, just because he wants to be frequently fighting with the decay. But you know, I think they're going to be fine with it if you're still able to just freely farm behind this tower as well.
Yeah, they're getting a decent amount of farm here on Snowy.
And again, all you really need is level 3 on Tusk to be really impactful. So if he's able to get to that around the time of, like, I mean, the ideal would be the 4-minute water runes, just to make that early rotation, to potentially put a little bit of pressure onto the Tiny, especially if it's before the Tiny hits up into his own level 6, because you know, with all that physical damage that they're going to be having, both from the armor reduction coming through from the Worm's Wrath, but the tag team as well, it means that Tiny, despite being a pretty tanky boy in terms of his HP, is going to be pretty deadly.
Pretty deadly indeed. So looks like Snovy's been able to rejoin back into the server, so that's always exciting. And now we get ourselves back underway once again here. So we'll see as we continue throughout this game who is going to come out on top.
Bottom lane, decent amount of action down here as Ashka, another pause. What's the regen look like? I mean, they've got a salve on the AA, so he should be A-okay. Shadow Shaman, again, just looking to make these pretty frequent trades, going for the Boots of Speed, although he's out of regen himself. So is the Axe, actually, with just one courier actually heading back to base. So I wonder if he's going to change strategy now on Ryota and actually look for a few of these wave pools to be happening, because he's got a 30 movement speed advantage over the AA. Yes, he would love to be able to get an Ether Shock out onto the Sven to try and get the kill, but he does have a Tango going, he does have a Magic Stick going. He probably won't actually get that battle hanger off, to be honest. If he moves forward, he runs the risk of dying.
Maybe he has that internal clock of the Ether Shock in his head here for Bashka.
And the chicken fingers coming up in 4 as well, so might not be able to pop the stick if he's, you know, getting a little bit too greedy with it. Yeah, the next 5 seconds is actually really intriguing as to what the strategy is. I feel like Ryota wants to go in, but is that the right choice? Could he get turned around upon? Probably, just because you've got that Cold Feet coming up again in a couple of seconds. Chilling Touch, of course, available as well.
Remember when Chilling Touch was a buff that you gave to allies?
Yes, indeed. They're just going to have to run away. So with taking a couple of those hits as well, means that you're not able to get this pull, means that the Sven is able to recover somewhat, just eat up a couple of tangos, and what could have been a kill, or at least some free farm for you to be getting for your axe, is not going to be quite so lucky.
There's potential for a first blood. We haven't seen it just yet, so we'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen, about where that does land for either team. Travis 9 though, struggling just a little bit here in the top lane. It's a little hard for the Death Prophet to continue playing this lane when it has been all about shenanigans. This Vampire a little bit far forward here on Snowy, who's been able to do a good job at getting a lot of those denies going forward. So right now we are just in Farm Central. All the cores doing relatively okay in comparison to each other. Nobody's really streaking ahead in any of these lanes.
Until then, Tombstone being dropped and had the stick available, but just a nicely timed dead shot as well coming from the tree line meant that Xenovi able to influence enough so that Aztekor able to get that quick kill for himself. Trying to pick up the Tombstone for himself is Excess Vampire, which he will. A little bit of an injection of gold there, yeah.
Doesn't lose out on too much experience, says Cobus 9. Obviously losing the first blood is not good. They're going to go here onto Snowy. Can they keep on top of the Muerta? Aztekor is able to just provide that little bit of extra gap. Oh, I thought Cobus 9 would potentially... Level 1 Crypt Swarm is kind of doo-doo, so doesn't really do all too much damage.
Yeah. That was the only thing really holding him back, and you can see he knows he's going to get harassed. He's got a raindrops already queued up here on the Muerta. Just realizing that that's going to do a body of work against this DP.
This means he can still have a few more of those Crypt Swarms. Bashka. We're going to try and get this fight going on here towards Waste 21. The Cold Feets will proc. Bashka doesn't want to go too deep into this fight. Now they're going to continue to go forward here. Waste 21 doesn't have too much of a creep wave, but he's getting a few spins. He's getting these auto attacks, and that will be the Sven going down. So Bashka wanted to get the aggressive stance on top of Waste 21, but he got punished.
Punished indeed, and I mean this is the sort of thing where you were talking about the DP having a relatively rough time, but there's Axe that was actually a fair ways behind prior to that kill, but now Sven's not going to be farming for this next little bit. You've got Axe able to recover not just some of his gold, but the XP as well. Obviously very important to be able to get some more points into the counter helix so that when eventually some further stacks start to be built up by Ryota, he's going to be able to farm them nice and quick. We've seen how crazily quick people can get out of control. It was Malik yesterday on his Axe that was just bonkers with the amount of net worth that he had. I think it was an 11-minute blade mail plus blink dagger. It was kind of nutty.
With phase boots as well, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah.
It was definitely quite a lot of the extra gold going in his pocket. You do definitely kind of exponentially build up a lot more of that gold once you get that chip first. Once you get that whole blade mail as well, you can just farm through these stacks so quickly.
This is this point
here on a Purple Paradise, looking to see if they can continue on here. They don't have the damage just yet. Not getting that final breathe fire there from Young G to take down the Tiny. Lives in B for now.
Does, but it also pushes him back prior to that 6-minute power rune, so is that going to be something that they're going to be able to easily claim? Aztekor has actually done a pretty good job of making sure the lane is shoved in, so you're going to need to make a choice of what you choose to do. Go for the net worth or go for the power rune. At least it's not a free bottle refill for the Tiny, but he's been forced all the way back to base. Does have the soul ring to be able to play around with though.
Yeah, got a lot of that extra regen now for him. These lanes are starting to break down just a little bit. They are seeing if they can go towards top side of the game.
This is an interesting rotation coming through from Purple Paradise. I mean, he showed on the lane, so they knew it was coming, so that you could make a few reactions, and then he actually gets blocked off by a really nice Ice Shards. That's the high skill ceiling that you're talking about with the Tusk. Just not even needing the snowball to be able to make a bunch of these saves happen. The Ice Shards is enough, and with that rotation, he's forced to just walk slowly towards the mid lane because he doesn't even have his boots yet. And in the meantime, got a full level advantage now on Young G versus Purple Paradise.
Yeah, who has the full treads, the null tally as well as the bracer, getting towards that very, very scary peak point where you're able to get the maxed out Worm's Wrath as well as the maxed out Fire Breath. So we're at a point now where the CS is starting to get doubled, and as you said, Young G gets to make this rotation towards the top side of the map, and Werther, one of those heroes that really needs to farm for the first 15 to 20 minutes.
And they knew Tiny just TP'd top as well, so there's nothing really he can do about influencing this fight. They should be able to very quickly take down the Undying, just a decay to kind of delay things a little bit. Not worth dropping the Tombstone. but they'll get kill plus a tower off the back of it. Maybe want to rotate the Tusk towards the mid lane just to be able to soak up a little bit of this farm, which he does. So not too bad for Nemiga. It just feels like they're being a little bit more efficient right now compared to eSpoiled. I say that as Excess Vampire misses 2 last hits under tower, maybe 3.
No, he gets that one. He's able to clean it up, and they get the first tier 1 tower of the game as well. 8 minutes in, pre-exorcism.
That's the tower I was really invested in eSpoiled keeping, though. Remember, this is the 20-minute Tormentor that you're looking to try and play around, and without a tier 1 tower, it's a lot harder to be able to defend this on the Dire side. You're not really putting a lot of emphasis onto the Radiant top tower, just because, you know, you're oftentimes out of position, and it just doesn't feel like it gives you a ton of value. But now they're just going to be able to quickly make rotations towards that area. They're going to be able to claim it pretty easily at the 20-minute mark. And not only does it deny the potential for the grab ally from Aztekor, it also is going to be giving, most likely, the upgraded Ice Blast to Monodrama's AA. So 8 minutes in, losing that tower, I was really thinking that they were going to put a ton more emphasis onto that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just weren't able to hold it, and you know, sometimes they may not even be kills. They can just be resource blunders, and that's exactly what happened there from Purple Paradise. He's able to at least clear through some of these stacks in the Radiant jungle, which is nice for him.
I don't even need the Exorcism for this. Just the Elder Dragon form might be enough, but going a little bit too deep is Excess Vampire. And he's just store things up.
Deep is definitely the word. Was behind this tier 1 tower. As you said, no exorcism, but now with Excess Vampire going down, there's not really much else that they can do here, especially pre-level 6 here for Monodrama. Really wants to try and build towards that Ice Blast.
Took out the majority of the tower's HP, though, again, without the exorcism, so it's one of those things that you don't want to be caught without, just because it is going to enable eSpoiled to be able to, you know, make a few more gank attempts of their own. How close are they to their support ultimates? Not super close. Shadow Shaman still needs a little bit, and he would be, you have to say, the more important one to be able to claim at this stage, but he is making a bunch of stacks for Axe to be able to play around with, so it's really just about getting into that blade mail as quickly as possible, because you know the heat's coming, and it's coming soon.
Yeah, Aztekor was doing the exact same thing in the Dire jungle, so for both the Mortar and the Axe, a lot of that extra network that's hovering around here in the jungles, they're going to see if they can try and go forward here on Young G, but with Excess Vampire in the area, that is a disengage from eSpoiled. They're looking to see if they can try and go on Covus 9 in the top lane here. The Death Prophet will show on the lane.
Still got the amp damage.
There with Aztekor.
I don't think they're really wanting to overcommit here until you've got the Elder Dragon form. From Aztekor, it's right under an Observer Ward, though. So, yes, they will probably be able to defend this tower, but it just means a lot of them not really doing much, you know? Relatively slow game, 1 to 3 kill score, net worth pretty much dead even. You have to say, though, Nemiga haven't really made any big moves outside of moving up towards that top tower and punishing the missed TP that Purple Paradise had. So it's just a matter of when they actually want to step on the gas to be able to start pushing forward. Is it going to be with the Witchblade being picked up? Is it going to be off the back of Necro Saber and Blink Dagger? Because I feel like eSpoil's rotation is going to come a whole lot sooner.
Yeah, they've got the Blink Dagger up now on Young G as well, so that potentially could be where they want to go. Excess Vampire, though, walking forward. Yoda does a lot with the Chicken Fingers and the Hex. It is Permus CC here for XX Vampire. Seeing if you can buy a little bit of this time. This Sister Shroud is completely bonkers. So much of this extra time just has to go through to try and get this kill onto the task, and that potentially could have been a bad one.
Yeah, eventually they get it, but is it worth spending, let's say, 40 seconds off the map just to be able to get a support kill, give up a power rune? Not even... Well, he did get the kill for himself, I suppose, but I don't know. It felt like a little bit of a forced movement because they weren't under the risk of losing anything on the top side of the map, you know? Tier 1 tower's already gone, so I would have much rather he just get into a Blink Dagger for himself and pick off a higher priority target like this Death Prophet. Still yet to see an Exorcism. Maybe now is the time.
yeah, just pop it and walk towards these T1 towers. A lot of these cores are walking their way. So Elder Dragon form, God Strength, not the Exorcism from Covus 9. Maybe looking to try and clear through this first T1 and then, yeah, walking towards the pit.
Claim, oh, some Ancients perhaps. I see that it's being pulled.
So they can see that they're going to be nice and juicy and stacked up. They did get rid of the hard camp, but now with this ancient area, they're able to get through that with Bashka. Bashka and Cobus 9 clean all that up. So they're just vacuuming up some more of these different parts. Again, just not really fully abusing the ultimates that they use. God Strength and Elder Dragon form for a T1 tower and the 3-stack of Ancients. Yeah, I mean, it's good, but your net worth lead is not ballooning out right now for Nemiga.
I think it's more just about, not like, of course, the net worth that you get is great. It's about denying it away from eSpoiled, because without a Blink Dagger on, I mean, the tiny level 9, I'm not sure if it's really enough to be able to reliably get any kills, because you've got 2 relatively low damage supports with you. You need the axe there as the follow-up, and so taking away all of that farm from the axe is pretty huge, right? It's going to mean another at least 2.5 minutes before Waste is able to get into his own Blink Dagger.
There's a close little jump there onto Young G. He almost collected him with the avalanche. Would have been an avalanche toss combo. Eventually could have taken down that Dragon Knight, and now they're starting to understand that there is a lot of time that Snovu's just been able to sit around and farm on the Muerta, up over onto the other side of the high ground. They're going to go in with the Ice Blast as well. She's going to walk forward. It's a lot of damage that goes towards that Muerta, though. Does she have enough to survive from the Shatter? The Cold Feet, it's going to just miss, or is it going to kill her? No, the final Shatter is able to get the kill there onto Snowy, and they continue to keep this fight going. Oh, they're all stuck inside the snakes. 2 cores stuck inside the snakes here, especially with the Shadow Shaman going in with the shackles as well. They get the Berserker's call. They're trying to get the save as they pull them out here from XX Vampire. At least Young G's able to walk away, but they do lose their Death Prophet for this. Another beautiful set of shards there from XX Vampire, and again, the skill expression from these Tusk players is a joy to watch.
Able to finally get outside of that Serpent Wards area is the Tiny as well. Could have potentially followed up on it, even threw the Blood Grenade back on XS Vampire to be able to disable any sorts of blinks that might have still been coming his way, but I don't even say that was an overcommitment coming up on the top side, you know? It was just maybe taking a little bit too long, and that could have been, again, a very, very different story if Axe didn't have that Ancient stack stolen away, because he would have had the blink in the lead up to that fight, and I feel like you do pick off the Dragon Knight in that sort of situation, which would have really put a dampening on how effective they would be able to continuously move onto the eSport side of the map.
And that's kind of the operative word right now, is the dampening of the Dragon Knight and the Death Prophet as they wait for their Sven to get towards that ever critical mass. Blink is almost available now for Bashka, so I'd imagine that it's going to be the next couple of engagements for them with double Blink Dagger. Just going to go in with their big cores and see if they can blow anybody up, but eSpoiled done a good job at keeping it parity right now. Haven't fallen behind all too much.
Item build that Purple Paradise is going for. Boots of Travel next. So he's got basically 0 right click other than just being a tiny and tanky as hell. But certainly a puzzling one. I mean, he's going to be hitting it at a pretty similar time to this Blink Dagger that Waste has just picked up for himself, so might look to just join in with a few of these gankish attempts. Haste Rune being popped. Ryota, he's got his own Blink Dagger as well, so they do have the potential to start going in and making stuff happen. It's just a matter of who are they going to find.
They're finding Undying here. It's the only one that gets hit by the Ice Blast. A nice little blink call, but no, you get stuck inside of the shards, and that's not what you want to see if you're a Shadow Shaman who's getting your buddy stuck inside of your own snakes. They have a lot of these deployables, but look at how much damage they're able to do here from Covus 9. Wants to try and turn around with the Soul Siphons, and it's not going to be enough there, Danog. So again, beautiful blink initiation comes in from the side of eSpoiled. They get stuck inside of the wards. And it's all about Bashka, who comes in on this Sven, finally picked up that Blink Dagger and is a very scary threat.
I mean, yeah, it was a 2-for-1, but you lost the tower as well as a result of it. And again, it just feels like Nemiga are making the better use out of these big item timings that they're hitting. You know, it wasn't the cleanest initiation that they were able to get on eSpoiled, right? Like, you've got a Blink Dagger on 3 separate heroes, but it feels like Nemiga are the ones kind of forcing the situations first, so you're not able to actually get the jump. You're still losing something as a result. In that case, the tier 1 tower, the last remaining tier 1 tower on the map. So interested to see what they're going to do with this next 2 minutes, because again, approaching that 20-minute timing where Tormentor is going to be a pretty high priority. Maybe they're going to look to try and put a little bit more pressure up on this top side of the map, take away the tier 1 tower from Nemiga, and just make it a little bit easier for them to look to try and play around this sort of area.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the emphasis needs to be put, right? Top side of the map. Both of these two teams. We did just pop the Elder Dragon form, so it's going to be up for at least that Tormentor fight at 20 minutes.
Yep.
It has to be very, very careful, though, because I believe it's going to just be a couple of seconds off.
Yeah, it's fine. You've got other pretty tanky heroes that can look to lead in. I guess he is the one... Well, you've got Blink Dagger now actually on Excess Vampires, so you can kind of have him lead the way. Also with the Tumbler's Toy with the Snowball for potential saves for himself. Very viable option. What's the warding situation look like right now? There's a couple of pretty defensive sentries being placed down by eSpoiled right now. And pretty similar story, actually, from the Nemiga side of things. I mean, one more aggressive ward sort of inside the entrance to the eSpoiled jungle, so we can see any sort of rotations that might be starting to happen up towards the top side of the map. Just going for not even the most information wards, just something that's not likely to get dewarded. So this one placed down by Monodrama was pretty good. Just rallying behind SS Nova.
Yeah, you can see now they do have the scan towards the top side, so they know that they're at least in towards that area. This is a big smoke coming here from eSpoiled. They do take down that tier 1 tower. How quickly do we want to work towards this Tormentor?
You know, Sven is there on the left.
Bashki, you have to be careful. This is going to be very spicy for both these two teams. It's everyone being split. I'm going to try and go in here onto the Death Prophet. Covis9 gets stuck inside of it. It's a beautiful snowball. And again, as you said, beautiful jump into the backline there. They just catch out these cores coming in from the side of eSpoiled. They'll have to TP out here if you are Axe. And now it's just Snowy versus the world, and he eventually will fall down. They don't cancel the TP there onto Purple Paradise, and 20 minutes hits the clock. Their fight was exactly what they wanted for eSpoiled, but they just don't find the right target. They go in on Covis9, they don't get the kill on him, and then just out in the back goes Bashki as well as Young G, and it is just going to be a Tormentor potentially towards a Roche as well.
You still want to just kind of sweep across the map first, but the big difference is, look at those cleaves coming through from Bashka, right? Like, that's the big difference maker. Deals 3.1k damage in that fight and just completely takes it over. And that's the crazy thing, right? He's the hero that they saw first because of a great observer ward that they'd placed down, but instead of going for him, they just opt to walk into the area that they don't have vision at the time, and you know, you saw what resulted, right? They, as soon as the smoke popped, they just went on whichever hero that they saw. Whereas I feel like if you take this Sven out of the team fight, the majority of the damage that Nemiga can do is gone, or at least it's a lot more manageable to be able to deal with. The supports had zero impact in that team fight on eSpoiled as a result of Bashk still being there.
Yeah, I don't think either of them got a spell off.
Nope.
And, you know, this is the power of picking these tanky heroes, right? You pick these Death Prophets, you pick these Dragon Knights to try and soak up a few more of those spells, and that's exactly what you wanted for the side of Nemiga. And very dominant set of 20 minutes has just come up for them. So we're just sitting here and we're just waiting, and Purple Paradise, what's he going for now? He's got a Void Stone and a 4-staff?
Is it Echo Saber he's got coming to him? Yules. Okay. Just wants to be able to last a little longer, have a lot of mana to be able to play around with. Not sure. Still doing okay.
For me, though, is Yeah, it's not so much about the net worth. I feel like it's just where the net worth is going, right? Like we already touched on the fact that they have these tanky heroes, and now you're going down a no damage route for the tiny.
The scaling is a bit of an issue.
It's going to become a problem, because if we get towards the mid to late game, you've got a Sven, a Dragon Knight, and a Death Prophet. And if you're looking at eSpoiled, they're going to have...
All three of them have BKBs as well, by the way. So not only is Huerta useless, but you're going to have 0.
Speaking of, she's been found. They just jump in. They go inside of the tombstone to try and get the Huerta away. She wants to try and turn around. At least gets away from the Ice Blast. But you can just see Kova's not going to let her get away. The toss goes all the way deep into the base. So they at least get the Huerta out for now. But they're looking to see if they can take down the Tiny. They do. In the background goes Young G onto the Shadow Shaman. So he will bite the dust as well with the final right click that comes in there from Kovis 9. And it is saving Private Ryan, taking down Snovey, being able to get him out of dodge, but they lose so much for that, man.
They do, and again, it's just one of these instances of pretty poor itemization, we have to say, right? Like we've just been saying, where is the tiny scaling potential coming from? All three cores had that blinked BKB available, excuse me. Mr. Core getting going on a little bit here. Nice. Ice Shard's not perfect, but nice enough. Yeah, okay. Like where is the actual damage coming from for them in the next? Oh, honestly, it's going to be quite a while until they get into anything, because he's going a 4-staff after that on the Tiny.
Yep.
So doesn't really provide any sort of assistance. Is it literally just try and get Snovey as farmed as possible and 4-staff him away and make sure he doesn't die, kind of like what they just did, and hope you could kite out these BKBs? It's putting a lot.
Yeah, I guess, but like... I also feel like you can achieve a very similar kind of stance just by taking out one of these heroes. You know, if you get a Blink Avatos combo onto XX Vampire, take him out, then there's no task. Then the Sven has to be much more mindful about how he wants to play this game. Maybe you can half HP the Sven and force him to use these abilities and use these items in bad situations. But now you're being pure utility. Like... Can he even kill anybody in an Avatos combo? Not really. So where's the damage going to come in the Axe Call? Unless they catch 2 or 3 heroes, I don't see there's going to be that much from the Axe either. And I think this is a big problem that eSpoiled are going to have here, because they are trying to get through 3 tanky cores that do a lot of damage, and there's not that much damage coming back at them.
Yeah, so, agreed. The Mjolnir will help, but again, more magic damage against BKBs. Like, how effective is that actually going to be? As Purple Paradise looking to rotate away from this top side of the map, but not sure if away from the top side of the map is the area that you want to be, considering we've just turned to nighttime. 25 minutes. Roshan making his way up towards the top side, and it seems to me like that might be the big prize that Nemiga are going for, with Ashka still with a little bit left on that shield rune, going to be just face tanking it, and why not? Any time that you've got Tusk as well.
You feel pretty confident. You are able to see a few of these heroes on some of the wards that are floating around for Nemiga, being able to see where the Tiny was on the bottom side of the map as well. So you can kind of just walk into this pit, and what are they supposed to do to you? You're not really scared about any of these extra heroes coming in. There has been a few decent blink calls by Waste 21, but it's just at the point now where
you need the follow-up.
100% sure where it's supposed to go.
Decent little spell usage down on the bottom side, dropping the Mass Serpent Ward, forcing some TPs away. They'll see that Sven doesn't have a TP now, so if I'm them, I'm TPing back on Ryota, instantly popping the smoke and basically going where the Sven ain't, because he's the one that's got the... actually gave the Aegis over to Kovis 9, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. It's an interesting
one. Trying to be the frontliner for them, trying to... soak up some of the spells, because you think about it, like, they don't want to use
all 3 are transformation heroes as well. Yeah. Like Exo plus Elder Dragon Form plus God Strength. It's like there's not really a good person to give it over to. Maybe AA should get it again. Respect 2.0.
Does
For those that weren't watching yesterday, we're talking about the AA Aegis Snatch, by the way.
Yep. But actually, it wasn't technically a snatch, because they got the last hit as well.
Alright.
Sorry, I just had to actually. That'd be nice if we saw another Roche steal.
Bring back level 1 Roche, honestly. Like, I'm sad that that doesn't exist anymore. Anytime you can have, like, a quote-unquote unique strat, it's fun in Dota to not just have one flowchart way of having to play the game, you know?
Right, they're going to try. Waste 21. They go in onto the Sven. He's about half HP, but now with the snowball goes all the way forward here on the Snowy. He's able to pop that big MP. Wants to try and turn around. Look at the damage that he does. He just cleaves through that mortar, and they're just stuck inside of the tombstone. I don't think it's really going to do much for you as the car.
Just dive in the
and they're going towards the background here for Young G as well, and I feel like this is potentially the beginning of the end. 28 minutes into this game, and they are just terrorizing the side of eSpoiled, and Nemiga look in very, very dominant positions. You just walk down mid. Like,
yep.
You just walk down mid. There's not much that's going to change.
No creeps.
Next couple of minutes.
That's the only thing that's stopping them, basically, the old backdoor protection. So they're going to be forced to back off. But again, for the past 10, 15 minutes, haven't really seen an avenue for them to be able to, like, how is the comeback actually going to happen? And I'm still wanting to see that. Even like the BKB that's coming through from Purple Paradise, it's not damage. I don't think survivability is the issue right now. It's just the ability to quickly pick someone off, because if you've got a blink call, someone needs to die in that duration of the blink call, and a BKB is not going to change that.
Yeah, and you saw the damage that he was actually able to do to Bashka when
it was decent.
Called. It was a decent amount of damage. Could you imagine if we had an extra core on top of that that was able to, get that Avatos combo? I know I feel like I'm kind of hamming into Purple Paradise, but it really does feel like they've put themselves in a very, very hard position with a lot of these this itemization, and doing a good job at least cutting the creep waves. And the question is, does Mortar outscale Sven plus Dragonite?
If it gets to like the Giga late
Rapier
game.
plus, like Rapier plus a couple of items, right? For Snowy. That's the only way that I see it, and especially now at Waste 21. They do get gone on. Kovasan is able to take that Astakar in the middle of the map. We are just looking towards Nemiga, trying to take down this last tier 2 tower and walk into the base of eSpoiled.
Walking underneath.
He's going to get cut off here as well. Young G's looking to try and see if he can find some of these calls. There's blinks everywhere.
But they're just taking out all the outer towers, you know, like, yeah, it would have been great to be able to close out right now, but they're not really in too dire of a situation, let's say. And I mean, even only 400 gold away from the completed Aghanim Scepter for Purvis 9 as well. So he's doing far more damage compared to a lot of these eSpoiled heroes as well. And even just like we mentioned, all of these things that they're going to have to try and protect Snowy. And you've got the 4-staff on the Tiny, you've got the Yule Scepter on the Tiny, you've got Parvis into potentially a Solar Crest and a Ghost Scepter on the Undying, you've got Hurricane Pike and Mjolnir on Huerta, you've already got a Nullifier on Young G, so all of that is just completely useless, and just one item to nullify, I would honestly say 70% of the net worth that they've got on eSpoiled is kind of nuts.
Very, very good item. I personally feel like Nullifier is potentially too strong.
Yeah.
It does.
I think it should do the initial purge, but it shouldn't stay, you know?
I don't think it should have any stats. I think if you kept it the way it is, give it no stats. If you want to keep it with stats, it shouldn't permanent spell. Zero up, unfortunately. He's been found out. Dropping the snakes as well.
He just wanted to disable a blink dagger, basically. Something to just keep them down there on the low ground. As hold on, they're both kind of TPing at the same time. I mean, they're seeing the Twin Gate be channeled over and over. He's in.
Okay. This is a lot of damage, but the Ice Shard, oh my god. You could not have asked for a more perfect Ice Blast with a more perfect AA Shard than that one right there. He saved his buddy from across the map and got the kills onto the cores. That could have potentially been a small little avenue for eSpoiled to come in. But no. Ancient Apparition, baby. Zip zap. Making you feel bad.
Yep, just way too powerful. Across the entire map as well, the AoE was enormous, and then he rewards himself by staying too close to the Tormentor, ends up getting himself killed for his troubles, but you know what, Monodrama, he'd done his job.
Yeah, that's hands-off keyboard kind of stuff right there.
Oh yeah.
But you crack the knuckles, lay back, you look at your core players and being like, give me that win.
What have you done for me lately?
Exactly. Oh, very dominant position still. Oh, look at this. It was a beautiful start from eSpoiled, but
Bang.
Just bang. And then that just gives XX Vampire enough time to get the Blink Snowball save. They just catch out everybody, and it's just murder on the dance floor, unfortunately. And that was a beautiful, beautiful save coming in there from Monodrama.
Yeah. Ghost Knight very, very happy about that one. To be able to turn it on around, I mean, he's the one that did the majority of the damage once they were in, right? Like, he's just able to clean up off the back of his Aghanim Scepter. He's got the Whisper of the Dead as well, so plenty of spell damage off the back of that. Witchblade, you know, Exorcism. It's a crazy amount of damage that this DP is outputting, on top of being survivable, on top of taking towers. You just look at the level of effectiveness that they have right now, and that's the big thing that stands out to me.
Looking to try and end this game is Nemiga. Unfortunately, Waste 21 is not around. Does he have a TP? At least has a TP. Beautiful blink back there, so that means that they're able to at least get away from Young G. But they hear a knocking, and they're beating down that front door. So if you don't fight now, I don't really see how you are supposed to. But how you even start these fights? What, you're going to blink call Young G?
I mean, he's saying, give me the freaking smoke, bro. Like, Axe is just like, what am I supposed to do here? They're still going to be hitting into this Rax.
Okay, Paradise out on the back. They're at least trying to take down XX Vampire. So taking down the Tusk is a good little start here. They do get the Sven up into the air. Doesn't want to use BKB in an awkward scenario here, so they really want to try and figure it out. BKB pops the plenty here by eSpoiled. They're going to turn back around here for the Sven. He's stuck inside of the snakes. It's a beautiful use there of the harpoon. Gets himself out of dodge, and he's healing so much. Look at the lifesteal the Satanic stands and fights, and Snowy wants to try and win this fight, but it's Covus 9 with the godlike spree on the Death Prophet. And it's a buyback from the Shadow Shaman. It'll be a buyback from the Shadow Shaman. And it will be the entire base going bye-bye because the Gs get dropped. And game number 1, Nemiga, dominant fashion.
Dominant fashion indeed. I mean, we talked about the 4 Protect 1 style that they were trying to go for, but that really isn't where Dota is these days. You need multiple different avenues to be able to contest effectively. You need not just one hero that's very